Hello, this is Greg Myers at Tools for Teens. Today we're going to talk about screwdrivers and things like screwdrivers. So, when you think of a screwdriver, you usually think of something like this. It has a handle, nice grip handle, and then it has a shank, and sometimes that shank actually is square, so that what you can do is you can put a wrench on it or something to give you a little bit more twist. And then there's the blade, and the blades are either a flat blade or there's all sorts of different blades, and we'll look at some of them. Anyhow, the key is identifying the kind of fastener you're going to be using, and then find a blade that will fit in there as well as it can. So here's a slot screw, and here's a screwdriver, but look at that blade really doesn't go very far into it. What about if you had a screwdriver like this big, and that takes up most of the slot, and that'll give you a lot better chance of working with a screw that's a tough one to get in and out, and not stripping or destroying the head of the screw. All right, well, there's all sorts of different sizes of screwdrivers. There's little tiny ones like this that you might use on your cell phone or your computer. And there's all sorts of different heads. So we'll look at the slot head. We'll look at Phillips head. Okay. And with Phillips, which is like a little cross, okay, there's different size ends and different lengths of them, okay? And it's very important with Phillips to get the right screwdriver to fit into the right end. Because if you use one that's too small or too big, then you're more likely to strip it, okay? Anyhow, and there are Phillips type screwdrivers that are really not Phillips, they're something else. So you have to look very closely. Now there's some very special kinds of screwdrivers. Now here's one that actually will hold the nut or the screw. Okay, well, let's find the right kind of screw for it here. How about this one? Okay, so what you do is you put that on there and it holds it so that you can get it into some tight spots. Okay, so and then after you've gotten it started, then you can let go and it'll fall off. Or sometimes you don't want to take the screwdriver off, and there's these that have like a ratchet mechanism inside so that you can tighten it one way or you can loosen it. Okay, it's like that. And then there's screwdrivers that are for really tight spots where you have to almost work around a corner here. So here's a situation where you can't be up here with it. Okay, you can be over here with it though, and you can screw something. They make those with slot heads and with Phillips heads. And then there's other kinds of tips that they put on screwdrivers. This is called a Torx head. It's like a little star on the end, and there's all sorts of sizes of these various heads that you can put on them. And there's all sorts of different kinds of tips that are available that you can put on the end of these handles. Okay, and then there's situations where you don't even have really a tip. What you have is a socket on the end for putting it on a screw, okay, or a bolt. Okay, that comes in real handy. And then there's this thing called an Allen head. Okay, an Allen is a 6-sided hole in a bolt. Okay, and then you have this thing called an Allen wrench, which you can put right on there. And that is another way of turning in a screw. Okay, you can have an electric screwdriver that takes these various size heads that go on here. You can put those heads on a ratchet wrench, okay, that can come in very handy working on cars. If you've got something that's really not moving very well, then you can take what's called an impact driver, okay, and this is like a heavy-duty screwdriver, and you put this on the fastener, and then you give this a whack, and then what happens is it turns this just a little tiny bit, and that's another way of getting something loose that's like rusted on. And then, of course, there's electric screwdrivers like this too. And you can put different heads in, and these are variable speeds. And you can go backwards and you can go forwards with it. That comes in very handy. And what else do we have? And finally, there's the air version of that, the impact wrench. Lots of fun. Well, that's just a few of the different examples of screwdrivers. And today, if I were going to give you a key word, I think it would probably be blade. Well, we'll see you next time at Tools for Teens.